Leroy Hoard's on with us now. Before we get into this coach talk, I'm just wondering what the hell it feels like to have lost to a team that lost the national championship by 60 points. That's got to be a hell of a feeling today.
Look at him.
You know what he's wishing right now?
What is happening?
He's lucky. He would never say that if I was in the room with him.
Yeah, like.
All right, Jay.
That hurt.
I love you, Leroy.
I couldn't even laugh myself on that one.
Here's the fact of the matter.
Yeah.
On Monday night, we was both watching.
We were.
How we got there don't matter.
Yeah, you're right.
If you can handle, we only lost because of a missed field goal, and that makes you sleep at night, good for you.
You know, it doesn't. It made it worse.
Right.
It made it worse. It did.
Well, how do you think? Wait, how do you think we scored 2 touchdowns for them?
I know you did. It's got to be just as bad for you.
When you get the ball inside somebody's 5-yard line 3 times and only get 3 points, and you throw 2 pick sixes, you ain't supposed to win. I knew that game was over a long time ago.
Yeah.
Hey, Leroy,
you ain't gonna win that game.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, Leroy, let's talk about coaching because we talked about this. You know, whenever a team has a soft-spoken coach and it doesn't work, you want the badass coach. And then if the badass coach doesn't work, then you want to go back to a soft-spoken coach. In your experience, what kind of coach did you prefer? And did the coach need to find a balance? Was it good to have one like the head coach be a badass and the coordinator be more mellow and vice versa? What's your take on all that?
Just a coach that I respected.
Okay.
So that no matter what approach he took, I knew it was for the best version of me. And probably one of the most harshest coaches I ever had was Bill Belichick. Come on, dude. He was, but at the same time, right? You understood that dude could coach any position on the field. He would walk up and down the lines during practice or pregame, and he would tell every single person something about the guy they were facing. And you respected the hell out of that. So all the other stuff, all the other antics that came with it, you realize that we were in this to win. Okay? And same thing with Denny Green. Denny Green, he didn't too much have conversations with you. He empowered his coaches, but he let them know what was up. And then the coach that you had would come and talk to you. So there's a number of ways of doing it, but let's think of it this way. Anytime a new manager or a new boss comes in, he could come in one or two ways. He could come in understanding, yeah, I'm the boss, but I need to show this team that I'm worthy of this title. Yeah. Or you can come in and say, I'm the boss, you're going to do what I say because I'm the boss. You see, both things can accomplish the same thing. However, one does a better job of it. You see what I mean?
The first one.
Right. And so what I fear about the Browns right now, and I don't know what the relationship is with Kevin Stefanski and everybody. I think he only has an interaction with a handful of players. Mm-hmm. And nobody else knows who the hell Kevin Stefanski is.
Is that bad in your view?
Heck sure.
Absolutely.
You would think
absolutely.
It would be.
Because guess what? It's the head coach's job to get the best out of you. And if that defense is slipping, sometimes you need to hear the head man come over there and say something. Not just your coach, who you've been friendly with. The relationship of your position coach and the defensive coordinator is a lot different than your relationship with the head coach. You ain't never worried about your running back coach firing you, but you worry about that head coach. So when that head coach come over and talk to you, it has a little bit different feel to it than having the same words come out of your position coach. I think what people fail to realize is that, you know, some of the best coaches and some of the best coaches are the guys who were special teams coaches. You know why? Because that's the only coach on the field that interacts with both sides of the ball.
Yeah, that's a good point.
John Harbaugh. Right?
So when you look around, a lot of times the interim coach
Bill Cowher
ends up being the special teams coach. You look at John Harbaugh. He is one of the few people that can have a relationship with everybody on the football field as soon as he comes in. He's not an offensive guy. He's not a defensive guy.
Hey, Leroy, was Cowher the special teams coach in Cleveland when you played? Did you ever?
Cowher? No, he was already
Cowher,
at Pittsburgh.
Wasn't Bill Cowher a special teams coach in Cleveland at one point in his career?
Special teams, he coached linebackers. He did.
Yeah,
he
but
did
that was before your time here, then, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I was just wondering if you'd ever played for him. Let me ask you about this. You're a perfect person to ask about this because you live in South
Let me
Florida.
get this real quick. He was the special teams coach for the Browns 85 and 86, and then the DB coach 87, 88.
All right. You live in South Florida. I know that along with the Browns, you pay very close attention to the Miami Dolphins. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on Brian Flores. Would he be the right guy for this defense right now?
Yes.
Why?
Here's why. He is very structured. He knows what he wants. He demands it. And if you can't perform or do what is asked of him so that he knows where all of his players are, the hell with you.
Wow.
I don't have a problem with that.
No, I don't think anybody does.
Certain teams call for certain things. This team don't need no more nice guys. You need somebody to put them in check, to let them know what's up. They are way too talented on that side of the ball to not be more productive. And so when you think of a defensive coordinator, and I'm going to tell you like this, anybody know any nice defensive coordinators? I don't.
Yeah, they're not supposed to be.
Right.
Joe Woods.
Right. Because they want.
He's a former defensive coordinator.
They want their guys to be nasty. They want to have attitude. The defensive coordinator and defensive coaches are like hype men. They are always the most enthusiastic on the field. The offensive guy is mellow. He's sipping on a little cognac, calling out the plays.
Right.
Right? The defensive coach got to dip in. He's spitting all over the place, and he's yelling at everybody.
That's the way it should
That's
be.
the intensity. That's the intensity that defense has to be played with. Think of all the defense coordinators. When Bill Belichick was the defense coordinator for the Giants, with all that star power, all they show him on the field doing on the sideline is yelling. That's the mentality you have. Because you have to understand, defensively, it's an attitude. You asking a guy to go and tackle somebody running full speed at you with the ball. You can't be no coward. That's part of the game. You can't be making business decisions. You want 11 guys flowing to the ball. How do you flow to the ball? Energy. Energy. You want a guy to fight like hell up front, get penetration. That's all energy. So you need a guy that comes in to portray that.
Leroy, though, on that,
Y'all can't be sitting on the sidelines as a defensive player, sipping on cognac.
On that same
You
wavelength,
drinking a
though,
Red Bull.
Before you ask your question, I think I missed my calling. I should have been a defensive coordinator. I'm the best yeller there is.
Yeah, but
That's
you don't
true.
chew.
he can start
I don't
chewing.
chew?
Hey,
You need that dip.
Oh,
Didn't
you
you hear
gotta have the
Leroy?
dip?
They
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that. Oh, a
yeah.
lot of them.
You can chew sunflower seeds.
I think
but
I-
those-
I remember
Yeah, you
Freddie Puckett at Ohio State.
I'd be
used to
good
put
at
that big
spitting
dip in.
and yelling, cursing.
Yeah.
I'd be great at that.
Yeah.
Leroy, but
Hey,
Leroy, real quick though, with Flores' attitude though, we were just talking about this ourselves. Do you think Kevin Stefanski, knowing he's in the position he's in where there's questions about his future, would welcome a guy in with such a different personality who has that alpha dog mentality when from what we've seen Stefanski doesn't?
yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Offense is different than defense. Right? 90% of defense is attitude. The mentality in which you go in. See, I appreciate defenders because it's like running back, right? If a running back's any good, he going to take that beating for the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, keep getting up, keep getting up, keep getting up. Eventually, something got to give. And as a running back, if you come into a game and say, it ain't going to be me, then eventually you're going to succeed. And that's defense. Defense, you have to be aggressive on every play. You have to know what to do. You have to get after it. And it's a different mentality. If you don't have a guy that can express that mentality of how the game is going to be played, forget about what they have to do. I'm talking about just the mentality of soon as you get on the field, this is how we're going to play. You need a guy to portray to get that message across to that defense. Because you can't be a coward and play on defense. And I'm telling you that from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah, no, it's
And I know some of the toughest guys I ever played with. It didn't matter size. It didn't matter. It was the relentlessness of a defender. You knew, hey, I better button my chin strap. This dude brings it the whole game. And you know those guys. That's what this defense needs. Not just everybody want to rush the passer when you're up 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But
Let's bring in a Buckeye.
Who gonna get me a stop on 3rd and 4th and 1?
Yep. Let's bring in a Buckeye. Robert Smith joins the conversation. Robert, we're talking about the new defensive coordinator for the Browns, who that should be. I know you're familiar with Brian Flores. You certainly called some of his games while he was a head coach. You've seen him in action now with the Steelers as a defensive assistant. Is he the right guy at the right time for this DC job, in your view?
I don't know, honestly. I didn't
Really?
call any of his games as a coordinator. I mean, I've heard good things about him as a coordinator. I don't know that it went very well, handling Tua down there in Miami. But, to a degree, Leroy's right. But there are notable exceptions. 2 of them would be Tony Dungy, who was our defensive coordinator the first 4 years when I was in Minnesota, and Dave Aranda, a guy that I did a game with last year down at Baylor. And the vibe you get off of Dave Aranda is it's so eerily similar to Tony Dungy. And here's the thing, you do have to play with emotion, but you also have to know what you're doing. And if you have a coach, this is the saying about coaches, like coaches and players. If players don't care what you know until they know that you care, and if you know what it is that you're doing, and if you are consistent with that message, then you can get that point across. Guys don't need to be yelled and screamed at, but I do agree that defense has to be played with emotion. We called the 49ers game last weekend, and it's just great how that attitude is just, it's the whole team, man. It's the whole team. Like, they're punching each other in the face at practice. Like, they want to be physical, right? Both sides of the ball. But I don't know enough about Flores personally to know if he's the right guy.
You bring up an interesting point, Robert, about Tony, because I was in Tampa for the 4 years, his last 4 years there, and he had an all-time great defense with a Hall of Famer and perhaps 2 Hall of Famers in the back end. He had Derek Brooks in the middle. He had Warren Sapp up front, Lynch and Barber on the back end. This was like a Baltimore Ravens, Chicago Bears style all-time great defense. And the general consensus in Tony's last season was the missing piece was the attitude, that he was too nice, that guys had too much say at what went on in that locker room. And lo and behold, much to the chagrin of the media, because we loved him, and to the chagrin of his players, because they, to a man, many of them wept when Tony was let go. The next year, they bring in John Gruden, a fire and brimstone guy, and we're looking around like, man, we've never seen this at training camp before. He was running it like like Camp McKinley. I mean, it was like boot camp. And what do you know, with the same players, 12 months later, after they fire Tony, they're hosting the Lombardi Trophy. So I know that Tony is the outlier, and yes, he did win a Super Bowl with an all-time great quarterback later in Indianapolis, but I'm wondering if there wasn't something to that mentality that to be truly tough and to truly be the best team, you got to have a little hard ass in you, and Tony had none.
Yeah, but he coached many defenses down there in Tampa that were top-level defenses. So, you can talk all you want about, well, it's because of the players, but he was getting the most out of those defenses as well. So, but I think it's interesting. Tony Dungy was our defensive coordinator with the Vikings for the first 4 years, and he ended up eventually winning the Super Bowl on the other side of the ball, right?
Right.
You just mentioned it with a quarterback, and
Same thing with Brian Billick.
Brian Billick was
Billick,
our
right.
coordinator, and he won on the defensive side of the ball. So, there's something to that, I guess, but there's also something to messages getting stale after time and continually upgrading and surrounding yourself with the best people. The formula's not
Robert,
simple.
I
If it was, everybody would be winning.
Right.
But Robert, let's think of it this way. Part of that is also, as a head coach, you have to know how to deliver that message. Everybody doesn't handle yelling well. Everybody doesn't, and you have to know the right buttons to push. The one thing I'll say about Tony Dungy, you could go to any player in the NFL, they respect the hell out of him.
Yeah.
And that's a respect that he carried wherever he went. So
Still does.
he could get his message across without yelling, because the respect that man has in the NFL is unbelievable. So there's many ways of doing it. But I just look at it from, the defensive point and playing against defenses is that the intensity in which a defense has to play to be successful. They have to lie to their bodies all the time.
Yeah.
As a running back, we kind of have to do it too. Because you take that pounding a lot before you break free. And you got to be willing to take it, and you got to be willing to sustain it and just stay the course. Defense is like that too. And sometimes you just need that message to be delivered to let guys know the intensity. We all think that we can do it ourselves. We all think you get into the league a while, you don't need nobody to motivate you, that you're a pro and you could do it yourself. But I'd be damned if every Saturday night I wouldn't sit in that hotel and listen to Denny talk, and me and my roommate went back to the room and wanted to beat the hell out of each other. Right? Like, I can't explain it. It's something about coaches delivering messages that stick with you. And part of it all starts from this concept. If you respect that man and you know that he's looking out for your best interest, and we all on the same page, and he don't have no ill will with the message that he's delivering, then however that message comes, you receive it. And I think that's the message I got from Bill Belichick, I got from Denny Green, is that when you respect the guy and you know that he's only looking out for all of our best interests, then you all in. And that's how it was with those two coaches.
Very good. Leroy, listen, we want to take a second here to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for joining us every week throughout the NFL season. Your insight has made us laugh.
Yeah.
Your stories have made us cry. And your insight has made us smarter. So for all of those reasons, we thank you. We look forward to having you again next season once a week.
Can you record this and send it to Robert?
Yeah.
The last part. The last part.
And the dinner he paid for G and I made us full too.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, listen, checks in the mail.
Yeah.
Leroy, you're the best, man. We love you.
Thanks,
Have a
Leroy.
great
All right,
off season, and we'll see you
All
as
right.
news warrants throughout the off season, but definitely we'll see you when next season begins. Leroy
Leroy.
Hoard,
Absolutely, guys.
he's been great.
Later, Robert.
His stories have made me cry. I mean, I'm laughing so hard at times I can't catch my breath.
Yeah.
But that's
They've been-
Leroy Hoard.
they've
He
been
makes
elite.
any party better. He makes any show smarter.
Yeah.
And we're better because he's been a big part of our show.